Hi everyone, it's Talia Rose, and today I wanted to talk to you about the pros and the cons of breastfeeding. As a new mom, one big decision that you're going to need to make is how to feed your baby, whether it's formula or breastfeeding, and I am a huge advocate of breastfeeding your child. I think it's the best option for your baby and for you also, but there are some cons to it that people that are pro breastfeeding don't really advertise. And in the beginning, when I first started nursing my child, it really made me discouraged because I wasn't aware of the difficulties and the obstacles that I would face in nursing my child. So I wanted to be open and frank and honest with you today and go over the issues that I had, and then also the pros that come along with breastfeeding and all the benefits that you'll have. So let's go ahead and start with the cons and just get those out there. When I first gave birth to Harvey, my son, 10 months ago, I instantly felt strapped to my baby. I instantly felt love for my baby, but I felt stuck. Like I was the only one that was keeping my baby alive and no one else could help. That was kind of the main feeling of, oh no, I'm stuck to my baby. I can't go grocery shopping. I can't have a babysitter come over because my baby needs me. And I didn't want to express my milk and then feed my baby because I was already spending so much time during the day nursing my child that I didn't want to have to pump and then nurse my child what I had just pumped, because that would be twice the amount of feedings. I just felt like it all fell on my shoulders, and it was a huge responsibility to feed this child on a 24-hour basis, and I was tempted to switch to formula just so I could pass that chore along to someone else, specifically my husband, and maybe he could get up in the middle of the night with the baby, or he could help monitor to know how much milk he was getting, because with breastfeeding you really can't monitor at first how much milk they're getting, and you have to go based on how much weight they're gaining. And it seemed like if my baby was losing weight, that by the time I figured that out it would be too late and I was already doing damage to my baby. So I also dealt with doubting myself and my body and its ability to nourish my child sufficiently, and I didn't feel like maybe I had all the nutrients and everything that he needed. Your wardrobe for the duration of your breastfeeding does need to be altered. I am constantly wearing these shirts that I make, the Dolman shirt, and I'm always cutting the necks off of all my tops, because you can wear a tight tank top underneath any of your shirts and just pull your shirt up and feed your baby that way. But I was finding that the shirt falling into my baby's face was really distracting him, and he didn't like it, and he wasn't latching on as good because it was bugging him. So what I do is I just would get a cover, and I just get shirts that I can easily pull down. A lot of shirts and dresses and things like that that I love to wear, I am having to postpone and wear at another time when I'm done breastfeeding, so that is a bummer. You have to take into consideration what you're wearing. Also, people don't really talk about the difficulty of breastfeeding as far as just making that connection with your baby right off the bat and both of you getting into the swing of it. At first, when Harvey was first starting to nurse, he was really having an issue with it, and he would latch on real good for a little bit, and then he would detach and not quite latch on again, so he wasn't really getting the milk, and he would get frustrated, and then he would spit up. So it did take a couple weeks, about even 3 or 4, to really get into the swing of it before it became easy and smooth and I was able to feel like I was connecting with my baby, because before it was just a struggle. Also, breastfeeding at first can be very painful. You're not used to having that much action up here, so it can be a little painful when all of a sudden you go from 0 to 60 and all of a sudden you have a baby attached to you, what feels like 24/7, and especially if you have a baby with a good strong latch and that can suck really hard, it can hurt, and you can your nipples can get cracked and they can get sore and they can even bleed, and that right there is enough to want to give up, because you don't want your baby sucking and then getting blood, and it hurts really bad at first. They do have creams and ointments available that help this process. While you can't build up a callus really in your nipple area, you will build up an endurance to where it won't hurt anymore. But again, it does take a couple weeks, so it's easy to want to give up, and it's very tempting to want to switch to the bottle. I was so glad, however, that I pushed through because it did stop hurting and I didn't feel any pain. Conditions can also arise in breastfeeding, such as clogged ducts or infections. Also, engorgement is another issue that you especially face when you first start nursing, where you really just swell up to about 2 times your normal size. And some of you ladies are thinking, oh yay, 2 times my normal size, but it's all milk and it hurts, and they're like rock solid. And some women can even get stretch marks from this process because it's literally an overnight engorgement. This happens when your body is switching from the colostrum, which is the very first milk that you produce for about 1 to 3 days, and it's very thick and rich and creamy. And then when your body switches to the milk, it just loads up on milk. So it can be a little painful and a little awkward because nothing you wear will fit for the next day or two until the engorgement goes away. It can also be difficult to return to work if you are solely breastfeeding your baby. I returned to work a month after my child was born, and it was very difficult because I was strictly breastfeeding and he became a boob snot, and Harvey didn't want to take a pacifier and he didn't want to take a bottle, and so my husband was driving him back and forth to work, and my in-laws were helping driving my child back and forth to work, and I was having to feed my child in the conference room and in other people's offices, and it was really stressful and draining on all of us. And I ended up being lucky enough that I was able to quit my job and stay home full-time with my baby, but it was 3 months of trying to get this to work. Okay, so now that we've discussed some of the major cons with breastfeeding and the difficulties that you might face, let's go into the positives, because there's a lot of positives. First and foremost, the most important thing and my favorite part about breastfeeding is the connection that I have with my baby, and I did not feel this connection right away. So for those of you moms that are first starting, don't feel like you have to love breastfeeding at first, because you will gain an appreciation for it. So at first, when I felt strapped to my baby and felt like it was just all on my shoulders, in a month or so it changed into a special connection and a bond with my baby, something that only he and I shared. In addition to that bond that you feel with your baby, by far breastfeeding is off the charts better for your baby than formula is. They just can't make a synthetic form of nutrition for your baby that is as good as yours. Your body custom designs your milk for your baby, and it not only defends them against allergies, but it helps with brain development. Now, there also is a lot of research out there that does show that kids that have been breastfed have on average much higher IQ and test scores and better success in school than babies on formula. I don't know if that's just coincidence, it definitely could be. For me, breastfeeding has been so much more convenient than if I had switched to formula. My husband and I are able to be so much more spontaneous because I have all the food my baby needs right here with me. It really is a less complicated approach to mothering, and I've loved it, and it's really gone along with my lifestyle really well because my husband and I are spontaneous and we don't really like to plan ahead, and we like to just do spur of the moment things, and it's really, breastfeeding has really allowed me to do that. With breastfeeding, one con that I was warned about before I became a mom by other moms that were pro formula is that breast milk doesn't fill up your baby the same way that formula does. So I'll be having to feed more often and probably more during the night if I am a breastfeeding mom. And I'm glad that that's something that they warned me about because I was very conscious of it. But not only did my baby sleep through the night like a champ from his 6 weeks on, and he still does. He doesn't stir once during the night for 10 hours. He just is out solid, and I've absolutely loved that. But the nights that he has woken up in the middle of the night, it's really not a hassle for me because I don't have to go make a bottle and get it ready and heat it up. I can just get up out of bed, pretty much still stay asleep, go and feed him for a couple minutes, literally like only 5 minutes, and then just put him back to bed and he's asleep again. Now, when breastfeeding, in addition to all of the benefits for your baby, there are also huge benefits for you as a mother as well. When you feed your baby for the very first time after giving birth, that nursing process slows your blood flow down, so it helps you to stop bleeding because when you do go into labor, you do bleed afterward for a little while, and nursing just helps to cut that off. Nursing your baby right after giving birth, especially for the first couple weeks will help your uterus and your stomach get back into the shape that it used to be before you had the baby. So it's wonderful. Women who breastfeed are also less likely to get ovarian cancer, breast cancer, and osteoporosis and arthritis. Now, one thing I haven't talked about, it's a huge pro of breastfeeding, is it's free. You don't have to pay anything for it. If you were to purchase formula for your baby, like a generic brand, Similac for example, you'll spend about $156 a month feeding your baby. And that can get really expensive. All the money that you spend on the new nipples and the bottles and all of that is completely alleviated because it's all free and it's right here. And in addition, you're burning 400 to 600 calories, not even moving or having to exercise. So that right there was enough to convince me to push through, and all of the other overwhelming benefits that I didn't even expect, like the close bond with my baby and the ease and spontaneity that I was able to have in my life and just pick up and go and do something without really having it planned and prepared. It was really great, and I really was so thankful that I pushed through. So anyway, I hope that all of this has helped, and I really don't want to make those of you who have maybe switched to formula to feel bad or guilty for doing that, because formula for those moms that do need to do it is a great option. So in no way did I want to condemn those that have, but for those of you that haven't yet made the decision on how to feed your baby, I hope that you'll give breastfeeding a try. And for those of you that are in the middle of trying to breastfeed and are maybe encountering struggles or challenges, it is worth it. Thank you so much for watching, and good luck as you begin to feed your baby.